Hello, ladies and gentlemen. So, welcome back to the channel and welcome to Excel Island live stream. Today is day 11th of 100 days of Power BI. So, basically, what we are doing on this live stream is to learn and master the data analytics tool Microsoft Power BI over the next 100 days, and we'll be so consistent and showing up daily to learn and master this analytics too. Today is the 11th, as I've said earlier, and welcome back to the channel. If you're an existing subscriber, and welcome if you're a new subscriber. So you can catch previous live stream, which is day 1 to day 10 on the channel, to catch up with the Microsoft Power BI learning so far. And so also all the data set and exercise files that I'll be using to learn along, I've already linked them to let's say link them. I've already linked. You can find it in a link under this description. So make sure to download those files, data set, exercise files, Power BI files, so you can practice along and master this analytics too. Make sure to practice. There is no magic to it. You have to get your hands dirty and practice so you can know where and where to go to in case you need to perform some basic calculations, some charts, some DAX calculation, and so on. So without further ado, let's get back to learning. So we're actually using the DataCamp platform to learn and master Power BI. So I'm currently on the career track, which is the data analyst in Power BI career track, and the number of lessons there is 17 courses, and each course actually contains 4 chapters, sometimes 3 chapters in minimum. So on my previous live stream, I've talked about we actually started with data analysis in SQL, which lasted for 100 days also. So you can catch the lessons, exercise files, everything on the channel also. So we're on the career track data analysis in Power BI, and we are 50% through the whole career track. If I click on it, and actually we are on the 3rd course out of the 17 courses. So we've covered 3 courses so far, and we are about to finish the last chapter in this 3rd course, which is data visualization in Power BI. So we've covered introduction to Power BI, introduction to DAX in Power BI. So you can catch those lessons on the channel. To make sure to watch them. So after this last chapter in data visualization in Power BI, we have a case study. Probably we are trying to practice and get our hands dirty, trying to implement what we've learned in the first 2-3 chapters on this case study. I'm super excited and looking forward to that case study. Then we move to the 5th course, which is data preparation in Power BI. I know it continues. We have a lot to learn. So let's finish this part of the course, which is data visualization in Power BI, the one and only chapter remaining. Then we can agree we've learned something so far. We have less is more. So we've covered the audience is the king, getting an emotional response, reducing cognitive loads. All this is available on the previous live stream. Don't also forget the data set exercise files to download to practice along with me is linked under the description. Do make sure to download and practice also. So let me just download the slides. I always love to download the slide so I can follow the instructor along. Let me just put on my headset real quick. There. This is better. Yep. So a minute. Okay, let's get started.
Previously, we focused on adding content. Now we will bring the needed balance by removing unnecessary content. There are 3 questions to ask before adding anything to a dashboard. First, does this contribute to the story? Second, is this the right visual element? Finally, is it necessary? Let's talk about each in turn. Think about this clustered dashboard as you answer the following questions. What story am I trying to tell? We have data for a particular product category, total COGS by channel for all years, and total sales amount grouped by quarters. This is at least 3 stories. If I add a new visual, Will it align with the story? In this case, the follow-up question is, which story? And that's a bad sign. Keep in mind that the user has ultimate authority. We may think something fits perfectly, but if your users don't see it that way, tailor it to their needs using your expertise. If you're delivering a presentation, you can control the story entirely. But with dashboards, you probably have some filters and slicers, which gives users flexibility. This flexibility limits your control and ability to design explicitly for a dataset. Even so, understand what the user needs and the types of stories they are likely to see. In practice, this means you won't have a lot of static text on a report, because you don't know if that text will make sense given the user's selections. We know that line charts are great for showing trends in data over time. But for most category comparisons, line charts fail because they imply data movement along the x-axis, something few categorical datasets have. For categorical data, we might use a bar chart instead. Choosing the right visual element applies not only to the choice of visual, but also to choices within the visual for emphasis, such as color. Color is what we call a pre-attentive attribute. On this chart, your eyes automatically focus on one particular bar. This focus happens before you can pay attention, making this pre-attentive. Take advantage of this by using neutral colors for bars. Then, you can emphasize something using one color without using words. Think of color as a garnish. A small amount is great, but you don't want to dominate your meal. We don't know where to look if a report has too much going on. Negative space, or places without any information or visual effect, helps us differentiate sections much more easily. Looking at this again, we know that we have multiple stories, so let's focus on one: sales information by products in 2018. For each visual, we can ask 3 questions. Does this contribute to our story? Is this the right visual? And do we need the element? If we follow the prompts for each element, we'll want to remove superfluous images, shapes, and backgrounds, focus on the information related to 2018, and include product-relevant information. Our dashboard is now much less cluttered. The story focuses on sales information for the year 2018. We've retained key information while tightening the story. It's not perfect, but it's much clearer. In the following exercises, we will continue helping our CCO answer certain key business questions and provide more information they can share with the rest of the executives. First, we will look at 2 ways to break down which sizes are selling and to whom. Second, we will look at ways to see if the company is on track to meet certain expectations. Armed with this knowledge, let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Let's see what we can. So how to do things better. So it can be easy to say yes to every request, leaving a report overcrowded and disorganized. These factors ultimately drive users away from a report. In this exercise, choose one of the following 3 categories to explain why it will be better not to do a particular thing. Drag each concept into the correct category. Does this contribute to the story? Is this the right visual element? Is this visual element necessary? Engineering wants to show 99th percentile response times for their APIs on a sales pipeline. Engineering wants to show 99th percentile response time for their APIs on a sales pipeline. Oh yes. Project management wants to add number of outstanding customer requests on a report showing build status by projects. Project management wants to add number of outstanding customer requests on a report showing build status by projects. It doesn't contribute to the story now. They want to add number of outstanding customer requests. So they want to add outstanding customer requests on a report, but the report is showing build status by projects. Does it contribute to the story? Says engineering wants to show 99 percentile response time for their APIs on sales pipeline. They want to show 99 percentile response time for their APIs on a sales pipeline. So they want to, on a sales pipeline, they're actually trying to show 99 percentile response time. Doesn't really make sense though. It says sales want to use a line chart to show how many prospective customers are in each step of the sales pipeline. Sales want to use a line chart. They want to use a line chart to show. So this one is this the right visual element? So I have to place this under, is this the right visual element? I think this is, does this contribute to the story? So these questions fits this aspect. Does this contribute to the story? So it says sales wants to show, they want to use a line chart to show how many prospective customers are in this step of the sales pipeline. So using a line chart, is this the right visual? So that's not the right visual. So the CEO wants you to add arrows pointing to specific visuals as they are too hard to find otherwise. So the CEO wants you to add arrows pointing to specific visuals as they are too hard to find otherwise. So I want you to use an arrow to point to specific visuals. So you can say, is this the right visual or is this visual element necessary? This can fall in one of these two, but let's see. So the marketing would like the company logo to take the top 25% of every internal report. Come on, it could be here. Is that visual element necessary? How can the company logo takes 25% of an entire report? It doesn't actually make sense though. It says engineering wants to show 99 percentile response times for each API endpoint as a pie chart. That is a wrong use of visual. Let's see. Oh, we nailed it. That's cool. So you are correct. The moral of the story is not say no to everything, but instead understand and protect the story. So the story has to be protected. In other words, so most of these are perfectly reasonable requests in some context. And as a dashboard designer, you want to understand the spirit of the request and accommodate it as best as you can, accommodate it as best you can. Perhaps even by creating a new report tailored to the new story. So you have to understand the request and probably the chart you want to, probably an element, does it contribute to the story? So whatever you want to show, or is this the right visual element? Is this visual element necessary in a chart? So that's quite interesting lesson there. So let's continue. Shares, grades, and KPIs. Okay.
For this demo, let's start by looking at two types of visuals that show shares of a whole, pie charts and tree maps. We'll focus in on data from 2019, setting a filter where the year is 2019. For our first visual, we will add a pie chart of the total sales amount by product name. There are a lot of different. For this demo, let's start by looking at two types of visuals that show shares of a whole, pie charts and tree maps. We'll focus in on data from 2019, setting a filter where the year is 2019. For our first visual, we will add a pie chart of the total sales amount by product name. There are a lot of different products sold in 2019, so it's hard to see much here with a pie chart. If we change this to a tree map, it's a little easier to see relative share sizes, though we need more space to make it clear. Still, not great though. We can add the total sales amount by enabling data labels on the Format menu. This is an okay use of a tree map, but the best use of one is to work with hierarchical, categorical data. Each of these products belong to a category, so if we add product category to category above the product name, we can shrink the size of the tree map and still get nice fidelity. To navigate in, we have three choices. First, we can move down to the next level of the hierarchy, showing us all product names. Second, expand down to the next level of the hierarchy. And third, enable drill mode. Before we go through drill mode, let's add a table. This table will include the product name and the total sales amount. Great, let's continue. Enable drill mode by selecting the single down arrow. When drill mode is active, selecting a level will drill down and expand all elements in that level. If we select jackets, we get just the product names in this category. Note that drill mode is a form of cross-filtering. We can see that the table gets filled.
I want to see the drill mode again. Let's see.
The table will include the product name and the total sales amount. Great, let's continue. Enable drill mode by selecting the single down arrow. When drill mode is active, selecting a level will drill down and expand all elements in that level. If we select jackets, we get just the product names in this category. Note that drill mode is a form of cross-filtering. We can see that the table gets filtered alongside the tree map. Next, let's add a gauge. A gauge needs a value, like the average cost of goods sold. To make the best use of a gauge, you also want a target and a maximum value. Let's create a new target measure of target average COGS equals £350. Let's also create a maximum average COGS measure of £1,000. Putting these measures where they belong, it's clear that the average COGS amount per order in 2019 was above the target set. Let's now perform some conditional formatting. Suppose we want to change the font color on the table to purple for any product with more than £10,000 in total sales amount. For tables, we can navigate to the cell elements, choose which column we will format, enable it for font color, and click on the conditional formatting button. We'll choose rule from the drop-down list and ensure the field is sales amount. Now we can set for any total sales amount between 0 and 10,000, the font will appear purple. If we sort the sales amount column, we can see anything below £10,000 is shown in purple. Key performance indicators, or KPIs, track performance over time versus expectations. Let's create a new page and see how they work. Next, we'll add a new KPI visual. We'll use the total sales amount as the indicator and the year as the trend axis. Our target sales amount can be created as a new measure and set to £2 million. This will be the target for the visual. We can see that the company did not meet that goal for the last year and was over 10% below it. Let's add another KPI, this time looking at total COGS. Let's create a target for total COGS of £1 million. Drag the relevant measures onto the visual, and it looks bad. But that's not quite right. COGS is an expense for the company, so the lower, the better. But we show that as a bad thing. To fix that, navigate to the Format menu.
That's interesting, because it is what is the way you did this KPI visual again?
A new page and see how they work. Next, we'll add a new KPI visual. We'll use the total sales amount as the indicator and the year as the trend axis. Our target sales amount can be created as a new measure and set to £2 million. This will be the target for the visual. We can see that the company did not meet that goal for the last year and was over 10% below it. Let's add another KPI, this time looking at total COGS. Let's create a target for total COGS of £1 million. Drag the relevant measures onto the visual, and it looks bad. But that's not quite right. COGS is an expense for the company, so the lower, the better, but we show that as a bad thing. To fix that, navigate to the Format menu. Select Trend Axis and change the direction to Low is Good. Now we can see that the total COGS for 2021 is on the right side of that measure. We've looked at a lot here. Now it's your turn to try things out.
Yep, let's try things out. So actually creating KPIs is quite simple and easy. Just know the right element to put in the label. So shares of the O. So two common ways of demonstrating shares of a O in Power BI are pie charts and tree maps. So pie charts are best for showing simple shares of a static total. Tree maps, meanwhile, are best for showing hierarchical categorical data. We will experiment in this exercise to see which of the two does best for us when looking at other quantities of product size purchased by a given retailer channel. So we should open the file. So don't forget to download the files. I've linked all files, exercise file data set in a link under the YouTube description. Do make sure to download it. So shares.power BI. So let me open it on my local. I actually use the DataCamp interface, but I always love to open the actual file on my local Power BI computer. So while that is coming up, let's read the instruction. So the instruction says create a new page called shares and add two page level filters, one where the year is 2021 and the other where the category is teas. So is this up? Yeah, it is up. So I am to create a new page. Okay, we've done all this. So this was from our previous live streams. This was from day 10. Yeah, day 10 live stream. So you can, and one of the challenges I faced on day 10 was the network was bad in my country for at least for 24 hours. So I could have cancelled my live stream. I had no idea. And I was up for an hour talking to myself. It was so painful. So there's nothing I could do about it. It was not something within my control. So that day 10 live stream was just, it cut at 15 minutes. And I believe I was still live on the channel speaking to myself, live streaming. Rather, I was only speaking to myself. So I did quite a lot of practice on day 10. This is where we did all these exercises on day 10. If you could watch just the 15 minutes, you definitely understand what we did here. I hope so. So let's continue following the instruction. So create a new page called shares. So our new page here should be called shares. So then we have to put a page level filter. So what are the page level filter on this page using this option here? So we have to add year is 2021. So if I go to the other table here, under the year, I can just drag the year right in here. And see other dates is all. So now I'll choose basic filtering. You can see year is 2021. You can see other date year is 2021. The next filter that we have to add on the page is category is teas. So I have to look for the category. Let me just search for it. Product category. So let's add it right here one more time. So the category should be teas. So this is the last one here. So product category is teas. So we've actually added two filters on the page. So if you have trouble finding a variable, you can type the name in the search area under the field under the field pane. So that's what we actually did. So add a new pie chart to the canvas. It should take up to 50% of the space vertically and approximately 60% of the space horizontally. We have to add a pie chart. I can just add a pie chart here, and let's make it big for following the instruction. So display the total order quantity of items with the product size as the legend. total order quantity. Also add the orders table, the order quantity. This is it here. So these are order quantity by which legend, product size. So by the product size, if I go to the product table, you can see the product size here. If I add that, so it is going to show us a pie chart. So from here, we could actually say the 2K sizes here, the 2K extra large. So the extra is this extra small? The product size XS, that is extra small, which is this one, has the highest order quantity. Let's look at this. This 924. Wow, I was wrong. The small size, the small product size actually has the highest order quantity. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So using pie chart most of the time, it is best to use pie charts at least for categories less than 4. When it start getting to 5, it may be hard to see. You can see almost all the slices look even. So to make sense out of it, maybe when you have like 4, less than 4, 3 category. So pie charts are best for that. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 category. But we could actually show it by the labels. 24%, 20, 19, 17, 16. So the small product size has the highest order quantity. So add a filter to the visual where channel is local store. Okay, we display total quantity with the product size legend. The next is add a filter to the visual where channel is local store. So what add a filter to the visual? Okay, so you can use a slicer to add a filter there. Oh no, I don't want to change this. Okay, I'm going to select a blank. So I was still selecting the chart, then I selected the slicer. So it's going to change the chart to another chart type. So to do that correctly, I have to add the slicer here. Then I select product channel. Where is channel here? Let me just search for that. Retailer channel. Okay, so see the retail channel should be local store. So let's filter it down to local store. So we are showing only the order quantity from a channel called local store. You can see. So from here now you can see that the smaller product size still at the highest order quantity. You see that? So change the title to order quantity for local store by size. So I want to change the title here to order quantity. So I can go to the format tab, title. We are asked to change it to order quantity for local store by size. That should be order quantity. Is it for local store or by local store? For local stores, okay, is this for local stores by size? So we have actually renamed the chart, now making sense. So add a new tree map to the canvas, fitting it directly below the pie charts. So we have to add a new tree map to the canvas. Let's make the pie chart a little bit smaller. And I can actually make this slicer to be a page level filter also, but that's that. So let's add a new chart. Let's add the tree map. This is a tree map here. We have it right here. So our tree map should contain. So this visualization should contain the total order quantity, channel, and product size. Ideally, we want to use the tree map hierarchical feature. So make sure to take that into consideration when adding the columns to the visual. So this visualization should contain total order quantity. That was what was mentioned first. Total order quantity. Next order quantity. Next, it will contain the channel and product size. The channel, retailer channel, retailer channel, then product size. Let's add the product size also. So I think the product size was the details. So you can see the category. The category was the retail channel, the details was the product size, and the values was the other quantity. So let's see what's happening here. Oh, I didn't add it very well. Except let me just drag the product size away from here a little bit. Let's see if that is going to make sense. I can now use the drill down. So that I'm drilling down from retail channel to product size. So you can see the way it was arranged. So we are still looking at local store based on our filter. If I click to drill down, let me just click on, go to the next level. It's going to move to the product side, which is this next level after the retail channel. Interesting. I can go back up. So I'm only looking for one store. Out of all these stores we have here, we've actually filtered to local store. So if I go to the next level here, you can see the small size as usual, followed by the large, then the medium, extra small, then extra large. Interesting. Let me go back to the retail channel here. Okay, so enable drill mode on the tree map. Select a channel like supermarket to review the sizes sold by this channel and see how this affects the pie charts. The pie disappears. Remove the visual level filter on the pie chart and notice how different your experience is with tree maps versus pie chart at each level of drill down. So what are the total order quantity for M-size products from small chain store? Let me just follow the instruction to practice for in the instruction number 4. So enable drill mode. So we are going to enable drill mode following this. So this is enable. Click to turn on drill down. It is turned on. Drill mode is on. Click a data point to drill. So I can click a data point here. Okay. So it says enable drill mode on the tree map. Select a channel like supermarket to review the sizes sold by this channel and see how this affects the pie chart. The pie chart disappears. Okay, let's select small chain store as suggested with supermarkets. And let me select supermarket here. The channel didn't disappear. Probably I still need to maintain my local store here. Let's select supermarket again. My pie chart didn't disappear, except I didn't use this on a page level filter. That's interesting. Okay, let me change this retail channel filter here. Let me just delete that and add it as a page level filter. So I'll now go back to retail channel here. Retail channel, bring it here. And now select my retail channel to local store. So we are back to our original self from here. So let me hide this. If I come back here, this drill mode is selected. If I come back to my page level filter and change my local store, instead of selecting local store, let me select supermarket as suggested. Supermarket. It's still almost the same thing. It is still the same thing. But let me do it again. But my drill down is enabled. Okay, let me go back to, let me select this one here. Still the same thing. But I think retail channel is supermarket. Let me just go back up, drill up. Okay. Okay, we are back to our normal. Let me just select this back. We are back to normal, our normal 3 filters here. If I'm actually using the filtering idea here, let me first select this here. Okay, so I'm really selecting for this local store. That's interesting though. It is back. So the drill down is on. If I click on the drill down is off. But the instruction says Enable the Ddown Mode on the tree map. Select a channel like supermarket to review the sizes sold by this channel and see how this affects the pie chart. The pie chart disappears. Remove the visual level filter on the pie chart. I'm not using any visual level filter on the pie chart in the first place. And this is how different your experience is with the tree map versus pie chart at each level of drill down. So what was the total order quantity? What was the total order quantity for M size product for small chain store? Okay, small chain store. Let's change the retail channel. Let's change the retail channel to MK store. So okay, small chain store. So this total order quantity for small chain store is 142, 142, 1422, 422. Ooh, that's not correct. Did you drill down to small chain store in the tree map? Are your pre-level filters correct? Okay, let's go back here. So my pre-level filter. So this was supposed to be set to. Okay, let me just remove this pre-level filter retail channel. So if I go back here a little bit, let me add my sliders back. The slider that we had earlier was retail channel. Retail channel was local store. If I change it to small chain store, let's see. We'll have to enable the drill down option on the tree map first. Okay, then small chain store. The total order quantity is say 1422. But I'm missing something. It was on the tree map that we started having error. So looking back at the tree map, okay, so 1422. What did I type there? I typed same thing 1422 and I didn't get it. Did you drill down to small chain stores on the tree map? Are your paid level filters correct? Oh, on the tree map, we actually drill down the small chain store on the tree map. So let's select the small chain store. Even merely looking at the small chain store on the tree map, I'm still getting 1422, which is the total what? Total order quantity for M size. Oh, I made a mistake for M size product for small chain store. Oh, I can just select M size. That was my mistake. 332. Okay, even I'm using the filter here. I didn't read that instruction very well. 3, it was not 322. 332. 332. So it said M size. So I was right all along. So it was interesting though. Trying to get our hands dirty. So we have grade and charts. Let's look at this also. So gauges can provide us useful information if we know the coin's value, target value, and maximum value of a measure. So in this case, we will look at this at the gross profit margin. This is profit margin using a target value of 70%, which has been set by the executive team as stress limited, and is something the CCO is very interested in. So cards can show us one important piece of information. So making the card a clean visual when looking at one or a few very important metrics. In this case, we will use cards to determine how many individual orders had a profit margin greater than the company target profit margin. So if you've lost any visual, so let's close this one that we have here and just open the new. So the next slide we want to use is grade chart and card picks. I think I have it downloaded already. Grade chart and card. So we have that already. I'll just close this real quick and open grade and card. So while that is coming up, I'll just continue reading the instruction. A minute. Yeah, so we are back. Sorry about that. So we're in the instruction and we wanted to use, we're opening our new chart, which is a great chart. Oh, let me check this from the previous exercise, the shares exercise. Let me look at how it was done here. If I drill up, it's going to be, okay, let me see how it was even structured. The retail channel first, exactly, then the product size. Then the values was the other quantity. And I did exactly that. But let me look at the page level filter that was added. So other quantity was added. Product size, filter on this page, filter on the, oh, I was supposed to add filter on the visual and then filter on the page. That was a mistake. No, even though if I'm selecting a visual, that is when it's going to show filter on the visual. This is other quantity, product size, and retail channel, which is from the category from the label that we added here. That is filter on this visual. Okay. Notwithstanding, it was only 2 filter on the page. I was right. But the instruction earlier said if I select supermarket, this disappeared. Okay, exactly. So I was supposed to select supermarket right from here, not creating another visual, another slicer. So the mistake I did there was not paying attention to this. If I select all back now, local store, franchise. Okay, so that's it. So I realized my mistake now. That's quite interesting. There actually is a pie chart. I was using the donut chart earlier. So I was using the donut chart in my example. Why? Because I like donut charts more. We're looking at this now. I actually wanted to select the charts. Okay. I'm just curious to see that again. Slide the labels that was added. Retail price, product size below it. So the retail channel is the highest level. Then the sizes are the lowest level. So if I activate the drill down, if I go to the next level, which is the size. So if I was supposed to sell, if I did back up and select supermarket, a small chain, as it was suggested earlier, so my pie chart is going to change and I could see 3, 2 here. Okay. Probably I didn't follow the step that was followed here. So notwithstanding, I was able to realize that also. That's the essence of that. So if I go back to my instructions for this exercise, so if your tree map is currently drilled down to display small chain stores, move up to include all channels, then add a filter on the pie chart where channel is local store. Add a filter on the pie chart where channel is local store. Okay. So I have to go back here and drill up. I have to deactivate this and drill up to all. Okay. So we now have our small size as earlier being the highest, followed by the XX, followed by this. Oh, hold up a minute. Yep, my power source just went off real quick there. So the instruction, follow the instruction for this exercise. So you say if your tree map is currently drilled down to display small chain store, which is this, I'm to move back to display all. Okay, I double click and it took me to, okay, now it is displaying all. So we are back on track. Then add a filter on the pie charts. So if I select the pie chart here, if I come to filter, I can add a filter on the visual. Filter on the visual is other quantity, product size, retail channel. But if I should add a filter, then add a filter on the pie chart where channel is local store. Okay, on the pie charts, I can say channel is local store. Okay, so I've dig down to local store for the pie chart visual. If I deselect all, Okay, quite interesting. We are merely looking at local store here on this chart. But if I click on this chart, let's see, every audio filter is set to all. If I select this, it is only set to channel, video channel local store here. Okay. Then create two new DAX measures on the others table. Target profit margin, which should be equal to the fixed value of 0.70, that is 70%. So maximum profit margin, that must be equal to fixed value of 1. Maximum profit margin. So for each of these new measures, set the format to percentage and to show 2 decimal places. So how do I set 0.7? Okay, let's see. So this is 1. Okay, this one is 100%. So maximum profit margin that will be equal to the fixed value 1. I think that is 100%. Why this should be 70%? So create two new DAX measures on the others table. So if I go to the others table, I'll just deselect audio visual others table. I can select just more option here and I click on new measure. So the first measure we have to create is called target profit margin. Target profit margin. It is should be set to 0.07. I'm going to set that to 0.0. Let's see, 0.70, which is 70%. And maximum profit margin, I can just copy this real quick. So I will log this in. That is for target profit margin. I can set that to percentage here. Let's see, that is set to percentage. Then I'll create a new target profit margin. I'll create a new measure immediately. I'll call that should be set to 1. I can set the 1.00, that is 100%. But this is called maximum profit margin. This is called maximum profit margin. That should be locked in. Then it should be set to 100%. That is percentage. That should be set to 100%. Then I will log that in commits. Okay, so following instruction again. So for each of these new measures, set to the format of percentage and to show 2 decimal places. I think I did show them in 2 decimal places. Let me see. Okay, it is default 2 decimal places. How about this one? 2 decimal places. Oh, that's correct. So moving on, add a new gauge visualization. Okay, let's add a new gauge visualization. Let's add a gauge visual right there. Gauge, where's the gauge visual? This is the gauge visual. Add it. So our gauge is added. So use this gauge to measure the average profit margin versus the target and the maximum measures you created. Use this gauge to measure the average profit margin. If I add the average, let's see, this is the profit margin. If I click on profit margin, it's going to add the profit margin, which is 100%. But if I change the calculation to show, instead of showing in sum, we want to show the average. Let's change it to average here. So this is the average profit margin. You can see we've already changed that to average. Then that is our value, right? Then it says here, use this gauge to measure the average profit margin versus the target and the maximum you created. So the target is, this is our target. The maximum is 1, which is 100%. Maximum is 100% normally. So our maximum will be added there. So our maximum is 100%, and our target is 70%. Oh, I've added it. Okay, this I added it is the minimum, So our target is 70%, which is what we created with this measure called target profit margin equals to 0.7. That is 70%. So our maximum is 100%, which is this place here. So it's going to, minimum is 0%, maximum is here. I'm just going to add this maximum right here. Oh, so our maximum is 100. So we didn't actually reach the target here because we are calculating the average profit margin, which is 48. Probably the average was made. That was the average profit margin made. Sure. Let me see. Quite interesting. Then set the title of the gauge to average profit margin versus target profit margin. So let's change this to title to average profit margin versus target profit margin. Average profit margin that's the average profit margin versus target profit margin. When we drop the profit margin, it will show the total profit margin. And we just change the calculation to show us the average profit margin. So average profit margin versus target profit margin. We did that already. AVG. Okay. Average profit margin versus target profit margin. Okay. So the next instruction now says add the new DAX measure to the orders table. So this measure order, the measure order above target profit margin should contain order sum X. We want to use the sum X calculation here. This will count the number of orders that achieved a profit margin above the target. So we want to count the number of orders that achieved the profit margin above the target of 17. Okay, let's see that. Interesting. The new DAX measure to the orders table. If I go to the orders table, I'll just say new measure. Okay, so we want to call this orders above target profit margin. So the orders above target profit margin. Target profit margin, which is equals to sum X. Wow, the sum X function. So our table is the orders table, definitely the orders table. The orders table. Then our expression, that is the calculation we want to calculate on the orders table. That should be if orders target margin is greater than, if the profit margin is greater than the target profit margin, return 1 or return 0. Okay, so I want to use the if function there. So the logical test is if the profit margin in the orders table is greater than the target profit margin, let's see that. It said if the profit margin is greater than the target profit margin. So that one is even a measure normally. So it's not going to look at the orders table. So comma. So if that result is true, return 1. That is 1%. If it is false, return 0. Close the bracket. So our sum X is saying if the orders profit margin from this calculation here, our profit margin, which is a measure here, is greater than the target. So our target is 70%. Yeah, it's going to return 1. Otherwise, it's going to return 0. So if it's returning 1, sum x is going to add, is going to sum those ones. That's interesting. Let's commit that. That's okay. I didn't name my orders very well. So moving on. So this will count number of orders that achieve a profit margin above the target profit margin. So add the second new DAX measure to the orders table. So the new measure is orders below the target profit margin. This is going to be the opposite of, should contain the opposite of our target above, orders above the profit margin. So I'm just going to copy all this onto C. So that is orders, which is orders above profit margin. So a new measure is order below profit margin. So orders is now be orders below the profit margin. So I'm just going to change this to less than. So that should be less than. So that is the opposite of what we want to do. Now we are getting there. So we've done that. So in the remaining space on the report, add 2 new cards to display orders above target profit margin and orders below profit margin. So we want to add 2 new cards here. Okay, let's see. So our first card is going to be, this is average profit margin versus target profit margin. So our target is 70%, but the average that was done is 48 point, let's say 49%. Let's add a new card here. Is it a new card? So in the remaining space on the report, add 2 new cards. Okay, 2 new cards. We want to add card. Okay, there is a card. Our card is going to show orders above the profit margin. Orders above profit margin. Orders above profit margin is 33. Then I'll add a new card here. Orders below profit margin is 268. Those above was 33, those below is was 268. That is quite low. So I'm sure they're going to ask which of these is correct. Let's see that. So comparing orders with products in the TIS category for 2021 and 2022, which year are the most orders above the target profit margin? It says comparing orders with products in the TIS category for 2021. Okay, comparing orders with products in the TIS category. Let's look at product in the TIS category. So we have filtered. We've done a pay level filter, which is TIS category. Okay, for 2021 and 2020, which year the orders above the target profit margin? Okay, let's look at this 2020-21 orders. Which year add orders? Which year add more orders above the target profit margin? So we can see that 2021 is not above it. So let's change this to 2020. Order day is what? Let's change this to 2020. Let's see. 2020 is still the same thing. The filter on this page here. This is 2021. I change this to 2020 right now. How do I commit that? Okay. I want to do basic filtering. Okay. This is 2020. Okay. It says comparing orders with product in TIS category for 2020 and 2021. Which year had more orders above the target profit margin? Orders above target profit margin. So it is, okay, let's look at 2021. This is everything. 2021 was 33. Then 2020 was 46. So 2020 had the highest orders above target profit margin. Okay, let's see 2020. So that's correct. You are correct. So in 2020, a total of 46 orders managed to have a profit margin above the target profit margin of 70%. However, 2021, there were only 33 orders that managed to pass the 70% profit margin. So does that mean they actually passed the 70% profit margin? But this is the count of the orders though for 2020 and 2021. What I'm actually confused there is, did they actually pass this our target profit margin? We couldn't say. Okay, this is the average profit margin versus target. So the average, let me change this from, let me change it back, the calculation back from average, let me change it back to sum. Ooh, okay. So I was changing this. So even though this was set to 70%, it was above. Okay, let me now change it back to, okay. My profit margin was set to average initially before, but I've changed the aggregation back to sum. So even on the charts, we could add the maximum. The minimum is 0. Normally, the maximum is 100. If I change this, my pre-level filter to, so can see 2021, this 2020, this is all year. If I change it to 2020, ooh, okay. So this has 2020 has 46 orders, 2021 has 33 orders. So it was above the profit margin though, but 2020 had more orders above the target profit margin, while others were below. Some others were below the profit margin. Wow, that's quite tough. Oh, we have more. Okay, we have just 2 more to do. Key performance indicators and conditional formatting. So let's do this. Let's do this. This getting interesting and more interesting. I would say tougher and tougher because try to understand what you are doing is quite interesting. Let me just save that so I can always come back to this exercise files in this future. So key performance indicators. So key performance indicators, also known as KPIs, all business track how they are doing versus relevant metrics. So in this case, our CCO wants to see how the company is faring compared to 2 important measures, one for total orders and one for total returns. So returns are not good for the company, as it means an order that was processed for a retailer was sent back due to errors or faulty goods. So this costs stress limited money. So the fewer returns made, the better. Okay. So let's open the exercise files called KPI 4.33. Okay. Let me just open that. So while that is coming up, let's read the instruction. So create a new page called KPIs and add one page level filter where the year is 2021. So we have to add the page level filter where the year is 2021. So we want to add a new page here and call that page. Ooh, so this was the solution for my previous exercise and I did well. But let me look at the sum here. So the aggregation was average, so I could have changed this back to average myself. Yeah, so and let's see. So I'll get it initially, but I'll probably change it back to summarization. But that's interesting to know that I was able to get those calculations correctly and the card visual. So let's add a new page and call this page KPIs. So following the instruction, so the instruction says add a page level filter. So I want to add a page level filter here. So our page level filter will be here. The other year is 2021. Let's do basic filtering. Just set the other year to 2021. Okay. So moving on. So create 2 new DAX measures in the orders table. Total orders, which should contain count of order IDs. This will count the total number of orders that have been processed by the company, and target orders that must be equal to the fixed value of 180. So the target orders the company wants is 180 orders. Okay. That is quite interesting. So let's create two new measure. Total orders with a count equals to count orders ID. So we just want to count the total. Well, let's create it in the DAX in the orders table. Just call that total orders equals to count of order ID. Let's count the order ID. So we just commit that. So target orders, I just set that to 180. So another new measure called target orders equals to 180. So that's our target orders. So we have our target order set to 180. I'll just commit that to the chart, to the visual. So next says add a KPI visualization. The KPI should take up to 50% of the horizontal space on the canvas. So a KPI visual, KPI, this is grid, this KPI, this is multi-local, so this is KPI. We have our KPI added. We'll just make it big for me. Remember, we want to look at the other year of